Hi, this is Julie from Love's Beginning. I'm coming to you from a grocery store cafe. I just had something I wanted to share with you. A situation I was in yesterday that was very intense that I was helped through. So I figure if I share with you how I was helped through it, what it felt like at the time, it might help you later on as we are letting go of our sense of separate self and easing into the sense of harmonic and shared self. This is okay, these blinds are sorry. Playing with this. Anyhow, yesterday, my daughter had a theater performance, so I was in a crowded theater. A lot of people, a lot of bodies, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings. And usually in our day to day, we're passing by people in the grocery store. We have a little bit more physical space, and so as we're becoming more sensitive, we are hearing more thoughts, feeling more feelings. As I've said always, where they disturb us, they are only kind of pinging off where we're still holding on to our sense of separate self and we don't need to, and where we could let go. It sounds very simple, but it feels like torture. It feels like torture when the place where you're still holding on to your sense of separate self is pinging off somebody else's because you can feel that other person's negative feeling, and it's not necessarily yours. Okay, it's not yours, but you're still holding on to negative modalities. um, and in order to maintain this illusion we're living in. So where you're doing that, where you can feel that ouch, it hurts. But what my friends, my non-physical friends, tell me, and we all have them, all have teams all around us helping us. Um, what they tell me about this is that ouch is okay. It's not necessary. You could just relax into complete happiness right now. But if you don't, like, don't blame yourself. There's some pain and some, during this awakening process. So if you're feeling the pain, celebrate that you have allowed yourself to feel to a point, to a depth where you're seeing where you're holding on to the sense of separate self, and you can let go of it. You can let go of it from there. And it doesn't have to be dramatic, and it gets easier and easier to do. So it really hurt yesterday. I was in the theater trying to, maintain my positivity or just bask in the. Sometimes it's possible to just bask in the positivity. It's very easy. It's not necessarily a hard thing. There were times during this awakening when it was excruciating to go out in public at all because I had so much going on that I was letting go of. So um, I'm sitting here in the theater and feeling feelings, hearing thoughts. We can tend to think they're our own, and they are in the sense that they're pinging off an internal nugget inside us that is still insecure, fearful, pain oriented toward making this illusion because we're afraid to let go of it or afraid to allow it to change. So it is always our stuff too. We're feeling it. But we're allowing ourselves to go deeper and deeper into others too, to be a lot more sensitive to them. And that means we're going to be encountering their negativity. But it's okay because um, the invitation, I can see this much more clearly today. Yesterday was hairy. The invitation is that, of course, what I am is love and light, truth and innocence. And of course, what they are is love and light, truth and innocence. And the invitation is to see and feel right through that, as if it's irrelevant. This is where I get hung up. The bad feelings start coming up, and I start thinking they're mine. I start going right into insecurity. I start becoming negative. I get kind of stuck in a mud puddle there. I didn't pass right through the illusion. I got stuck and went home and sat on the couch and ate ice cream, and kind of like the classic girlfriend scenario. That's how I recovered. I am neither ashamed nor proud. It worked, and I feel much better today, and I have a better understanding of what happened, and a better appreciation for everybody around me. So I made notes on this. on my Kindle. Where is it? Kindle. I'm just going to check because I kind of received a message about it this morning and made notes on it. But our invitation is always to see into the truth and light and love in everyone. And yes, easier said than done. And before we figure out the modality, it's freaking excruciating as we run into our where our own stuff is reflecting off of other people's stuff. I always hesitate to talk about other people because when we're talking about other people, we're always talking about ourselves, our attachment to our own issues. But what they did tell me was the ones around you are not distressed by this negativity. It's normal. So to think that like they're in a theater and they're looking on stage and to look and evaluate and think that one's good enough and that one isn't and that one clearly has an awful future because of the way she looks and that one, there's a lot of this thinking going on. And it's not totally absent within me either, linking the way somebody looks to their possible future, their possible positive or negative outcomes, or their value as perceived by others. That's not gone from me either. But it was intense. It was it was very intense. So it's they're saying, yeah, there are lots of people thinking these things, but they have no problem believing them, and they're sorting themselves into superior and negative categories. And there's even when they're sorting themselves into a negative category, there's kind of a satisfaction in the pain, and so that is what's happening when you're in a place with a lot of people at once, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, and you've allowed yourself to penetrate through the separate self, not just yours, everybody's. I don't necessarily get into people's specific business that I will know. I mean, if I need to know, I guess I'll hear it, that I'll know exactly what they're thinking, but I can definitely feel the quality of what everybody's thinking. And if I'm reactive to it, I'm going to get stuck right in a corresponding thing within me. But if I'm responsive to it, I see right through the illusion and I separate I release what's left in me to release as I do that. So let me just see. Yesterday, you were brought into proximity with many who are experiencing their own cleansing. You can and you did offer telepathic support and healing. So, this is what we're here for. We're here to offer telepathic support and healing. And that is why, and we'll do it through action too, and it will be very obvious. Like when I'm supposed to speak to somebody, usually the first line of conversation just repeats in my head till it drives me crazy. And of course, I'm going to have this conversation with that person because it will drive me crazy if I don't. So as far as the speech and action part, that's obvious. But they often tell me that the telepathic part is very, very big. Like, and even what I was able to offer yesterday in that space before I kind of spiraled downward and got stuck in my old self, my separate self, my vulnerable self. What I offered was positive, and that's what we offer everywhere. Okay, but you also have your own remaining sense of separate self. Sorry, I lost it for a second. To purge, so that's where it felt awful for you. Thank you. We are telling you to give thanks for the clear highlighting of what remains. So that's what I wanted to bring up too, is that we're highlighting, we're not highlighting, they're highlighting for us what's left in us. So we can sometimes, because we're penetrating through the separate self, and we can hear thoughts, feel feelings that aren't ours, that are ours, in this big jumble. If we can get to the point where we can thank them for their service to us, sincerely, because they're helping us see what we only have to let go of, what we only have to allow, just allow it to go, allow the real self, the real shared self, harmonious self to arise in everybody. When we're doing that allowing work, we're assisting it in arising in everybody, and not in a way that's going to shoot them into instant pain. When we get our heads on straight, they don't have to have such painful awakenings. When there are a lot of us walking around with our heads on straight, knowing how to see through the illusion into the light, love, truth, innocence in everybody, they don't have to have such painful awakenings if they're just completely surrounded by loving beings who know they're loving beings, who know that the person they're looking at is a loving being, like 100% confident about that. So that's part of what's going on here. Let's see. So the other people, even if they're not awake, especially if they're not awake, I don't even like to sort us into awake and not awake, but I just said it anyhow. So they're highlighting what's left. They're doing us a service. So as I've said before, they're holding open the door into awakening, and they're saying, "You first. You go ahead." Um, and sometimes I'll think, well, I don't want to barge ahead in line. I don't want to be first and leave anybody behind. But they just tell me there's a sequence to these events, and there's a divine order, and just go when it's your time. Everything ends in the same place. There is one shared self. The one shared self is harmonious. It is love, and don't be silly about first, second, third, all that stuff. Okay. Let me just see what was left in here. What remains, because, okay, you want to get every bit of what's left of the separate vulnerable sense of self that is like clinging on to this illusion, like it's my precious, it's my safety, it's my sense of security. When I say the illusion, I'm saying the pain and the fear that we make in the world, the disorder that we all project out into the world because we don't know who we are. We do it innocently. And remember, the disorder that we project out into the world is not even real. It is an illusion. But we learn how to stop. We learn how to stop projecting pain and fear as a sort of mode that we regard as normal humanity mode. We're collectively changing that. And that's why there is so much celebration in the non-physical and in other physical dimensions that are more enlightened than we are, that know us and know themselves better than we do, because we really, truly are changing this. Okay. You also release when you are happy, but you're experiencing both the pain and the happiness. Just accept. Don't take the tortured thoughts that come up too seriously. And that's what I was doing yesterday. Some of the torturous vibration I was feeling and thinking, I was thinking they were some of my own thoughts, like, oh my gosh, I am so insecure. I think I must be depressed. I must be this, I must be that. But um, it was actually just feeling the intensity of it all. And the point is not to take it personally, because we are transcending the personal. Um, okay, so remember, that's not a picture of a separate self that you have to fix or improve. This is key, because this is the project we take on within the illusion that we believe we have these separate selves and they are defective, and we must take on the tinkering project of fixing and improving them. If we can let go of that and allow the flow of all that is, it's much easier, much quicker. And they're kind of laughing because we don't. We hold on to that perceived separate self-control as long as we can, because that is what we know to be our safety. That is what we know to be our sense of control. So they say you just let it go. You just stop listening to the pre-recorded message. So what has been suggested to me before is that the egoic thoughts, to think of them as a pre-recorded message that we put in place on purpose to sustain this sense of dissonance that is necessary for the 3D experience. Okay, it says others around you haven't let themselves feel how painful it is to listen to the pre-recorded message, but you're helping them with every healing step you take. They are currently helping you with their beautiful highlighting and reflectivity. That's their job. They're doing a beautiful job. They won't let me miss a crumb. So now this morning I can say thank you to them. I understand what happened. And I'm going back to that theater today because there are multiple performances. So it will be interesting to see, like, I feel really good and happy this morning. So how's round 2 going to go? They're currently helping you with their beautiful highlighting and reflectivity. They are doing a service. And I had caps lock on for that last sentence. You know, by accident, there are no accidents. They are doing you a service. So if we can remember that every being out there, every being does us a service in some way, and sometimes it takes some time to see that, but when it snaps into place, I think you'll feel. I always feel really happy and light about it, so I think you will too. I have to say this must be my video shirt because I've noticed like the last four videos I've made, I think, or several, that I am always wearing this shirt. And I put it on today, and lo and behold, I needed to make a video. So I hope this helps you in some way. It can get intense. I don't think it has to. You can just let everything go and blossom into complete joy and bliss and stay there. But if you have any stubbornness in you, there are going to be some painful times, some intense times. So I hope this helps you in your journey. Thank you.